Joining me now to discuss Democratic Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Senator, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
No, good morning, Kate.
So I want to get to health care in just one second, but because of the breaking news at the top of the hour, you do sit on foreign relations. I want to get your reaction to the Supreme Court's announcing that they have agreed to take up the case of the president's travel ban. And in the meantime, before they hear arguments in October, they will allow part of the travel ban to go into effect. Your reaction, Senator?
Well, the Supreme Court made it clear that Donald Trump had overreached with regard to students coming to our country, business people who had connections to our country, other family members who had connections to our country. They can now come. So that was an overreach by Trump. I'm disappointed that the court just didn't rule that a Muslim ban in and of itself is unconstitutional. That goes right to the heart of the Statue of Liberty, staring at the Trump Tower in New York City every single day in terms of what it stands for. But this first decision with regard to the overreach for businesses, for family members, for students coming to the country, that's good. But it still doesn't deal with this fundamental flaw in the Trump order, which is that at its heart, it is a Muslim ban. And it says to all refugees, if you're a Muslim, you cannot come to the United States of America, regardless of the reason why you are turning into a refugee, most of it because of a civil war in countries that are driving them out. They don't want to leave. They're leaving because their families would otherwise die.
No mention of Muslim in the executive order, but the Supreme Court will have the final say on it, and we will see exactly where that goes in October. Senator, I appreciate that. To the other big issue that is facing you at this very moment, the issue of health care and the Republican plan. One big issue for Democrats and some Republicans very publicly now in this Republican plan are cuts to the Medicaid program. But according to the White House, these are not cuts at all, Senator. Listen here to Kellyanne Conway over the weekend.
These are not cuts to Medicaid, George. This slows the rate for the future, and it allows governors more flexibility with Medicaid dollars because they're closest to the people in need. If you are currently in Medicaid, if you became a Medicaid recipient through the Obamacare expansion, you are grandfathered in. We're talking about in the future.
Conway says they're reforming, not cutting the program. What do you say?
Well, what do I say? Well, what I say is they're actually going to cut $800 billion. Those are their numbers, not my numbers. Those are the numbers in their bill, an $800 billion cut. And just to take it and put an exclamation point on it, $33 billion of that money goes to the 400 wealthiest billionaires in America as a tax cut coming out of care for cancer patients, Alzheimer's patients, substance use disorder patients, people who need opioid
So are you saying that the White House is,
in our country.
Are you saying the White House is lying, that Kellyanne Conway is lying when she says that?
I'm saying that, as usual, the Republicans are able to harness voluminous amounts of information to defend knowingly erroneous premises. And the single phony premise that they're defending is that this is not a cut in programs for poor people, for the disabled, for the sick, for people who need opioid treatment in our country. It will be a devastating cut for those people. That's why the Republicans are now feeling pressure in their home states all across the country. This is something that goes fundamentally to the well-being of every family in our country, and the pressure is only going to build as each day goes by.
Let's talk about the issue of opioid addiction. It's a huge problem in Massachusetts. You speak out about it all the time and have very recently. Again, here is the position coming from Kellyanne Conway representing the White House. Listen to this.
But pouring money into the problem is not the only answer. We have to get serious about in-facility treatment and recovery.
That takes money, Kellyanne.
It takes money, and it also takes a four-letter word called will. It takes a focus that it includes money, but it also includes understanding the difference between just interdiction and prevention, but also recovery and treatment.
Do you agree with Kellyanne? Is sheer will to tackle this problem what is missing here, not money?
Look, at a vision without funding is an hallucination. In the Obamacare program, over the next 10 years, $90 billion would be spent on opioid addiction treatment in our country. Under this bill Republicans are going to pass, it could be cut in half. And in fact, just on Friday, they decided to add $2 billion more. Well, $2 billion more when Obamacare has $90 billion for families who need treatment, families who need help, families who are going to need an ability to be able to take their loved one who otherwise might die, might have just a further relapse that leads to them just passing away. They're going to need nurses. They're going to need doctors. They're going to need treatment. That needs money. Will alone will not accomplish that goal. Without the funding, we are going to see tens of thousands of additional people unnecessarily die in our country from opioid overdose. And that is just immoral, and it is plain wrong, and I am going to battle every single day to make sure that does not happen this week.
Let's see where that battle goes. We do know that there are Republicans like Rob Portman, like Susan Collins, who have very big concerns about the issue of opioid addiction. This is not just a Democratic issue, in the very least. Let's see where this heads. Senator Markey, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.